Crabitz. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 362 of Picks and Ponies right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your proud host, Howard Kravitz. Thank you very much for joining us on a special night. It is Haskell weekend at Monmouth Park. They have a monster card this Saturday as usual for Haskell Day, and we are here to talk about all of the stake races. 6 races in total. We'll be discussing the All Stakes late pick 4 and 2 other races as well. It's going to be a fantastic day. Thank you very much for joining us. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, we are literally a few subscribers away from 4,000. Why don't you be the one to put us over the top and get us above 4,000 subscribers? Just hit that red subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Also below the screen, smash that like button. We greatly appreciate it. And in the top right-hand corner, you can hit that notification bell on YouTube so that you know when new content will be dropped right here on this channel. You can follow me on X right there at HKravitz. And scrolling to the bottom of the screen is my email, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Of course, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Look below the video player for our fantastic Power Picks tip sheet, which was absolutely on fire last week with 2 great scores, including a Cherie DeVaux horse that paid $13 and change as our play of the day. So please make sure you check that out. And you can also go to our website and find out more information, hhhracingpodcast.com. We have, as we're filming this live here Thursday night, tonight, midnight Eastern. Again, midnight Eastern Thursday night is the drop dead deadline for Del Mar full meet Power Picks. Again, if you're interested in Del Mar, which starts this weekend, again, go to our website, click the Power Picks tab. You can find out all about it. But again, if you want full meet Del Mar, you do need to sign up tonight, midnight Thursday, as we're filming here. You can always sign up for individual weekend packages at Del Mar and Saratoga as well. Please check that out. Also, A Better Way of Thinking, Matt Miller's great book. Go to abetterwayofthinking.com. Highly recommend you do that as well. All right, that takes care of all the administrative items. We've got a real special guest tonight. I am very excited to have her on. We have continued a great tradition of having unbelievable handicappers, analysts, contest players, and we have another one on tonight. Let me bring on my co-host and our guest. First of all, from the East Coast of Maryland, sporting a new shirt. I love it. Mr. Pete Visco from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the Saratoga Special, and soon to be found at Saratoga, which we'll talk about that in just a minute. Mr. Paul Halloran, and from DRF, she's one of the best contest players in the world, and even if she doesn't think so, I'll say it anyway, because she's fantastic. Excellent handicapper, horse owner. We are really proud to have on for the first time on our show to help us navigate through the great card at Monmouth Park, Miss Alexa Zepp. Hi, Alexa. Hi, everyone. How are we doing tonight?
Hey.
Hey, Alexa.
How's it going?
Fantastic.
What's going on? Pete, you took our former logo on our website and just turned into a shirt. I love it.
Yeah, why not? I need more shirts for the shows, so I
All right.
just start making my own after a while.
I like it. Quick things before we have Alexa introduce herself officially and talk a little about her background. Paul, you and I, along with, Patrick Kunzel, Noah Maher, Matt Miller, Brad Anderson, viewers of the show, Jim Pilars, I'm sure Philly Joe Mecca, the whole group of us will be at Saratoga next week for Jim Dandy Week. And most of us will be there from Wednesday till Sunday. I think it's the 24th of July to the 28th, but it's next week. And I want everyone know a little breaking news, Paul and Pete and Alexa. We are going to have a meet and greet, and it's going to be Saturday between race 1 and race 2. So as race 1 is starting into the race 2, come down to the Jim Dandy Bar, and Paul will tell everyone where that is in just a minute. The Jim Dandy Bar will all be there. Paul will buy everyone a beverage. It'll be a lot of fun. And we can have a chance to meet a bunch of people and fans of the podcast. Paul, where can people find the Jim Dandy Bar at Saratoga?
Well, it's right inside the clubhouse. They're all one entrance now. There's no grandstand clubhouse delineation. But what used to be the clubhouse entrance, you walked from the paddock to the track and entered the clubhouse that way. It's straight ahead, and it has been upgraded significantly since we met some folks there last year. And I should be there for that, Howard. My plan is to be there for race 1 on Saturday.
Beautiful, and we're very excited about that, Paul, that you're going to be joining us for, or you're going to be there a little bit early, and so is Jim Pilars and a bunch of people. Tom Espinoza from San Francisco at the bottom of the screen says hello. Brad Anderson says hello to Paul, excited for our upcoming trip. Again, a lot of people in the chat already. So again, Saturday the 28th, Jim Dandy Day, between races 1 and 2, find us at coincidentally, the Jim Dandy Bar for our meet and greet. All right, Alexa, welcome to our show. We're so happy to have you. We've had, like I said, a great tradition of analysts and handicappers, and we're very proud to say we've had many female handicappers and analysts. In fact, one of the first guests on our show more than 3 years ago was Michelle Yu, and we've continued the tradition. We're just so proud that you are with us. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself for people that do not know.
Yeah, thanks for having me. No, this is really fun. I'm super jealous of you guys out there at Saratoga. I'm trying to just convince myself to book an impromptu flight and head out there. But I know, right? I'm joining for the meet and greet, but
absolutely
I'm excited to be here. Yeah, for those who don't know, I got involved in racing probably 7 years ago at this point through competitive handicapping in the tournament world. Kind of a unique entry to the sport for sure, and just really fell in love with it. And now my entire life is just horse racing. I have a racing syndicate. I own and purchase horses for investors. I moved to Lexington to be around it. I work for the Daily Racing Form. I'm on the product team, so I help design, test, and implement our products with Formulator and Timeform, which are obviously, I know you guys use that on here, some of the best products out there. Part of the Horse Racing Women's Summit to help get women engaged and involved in the sport. So I've really just gone all in on horse racing the last few years, and I love it.
And how have you found the growth? Like I said, we've had, Angela Herman, I could just name literally a bunch of people. We've had track announcer, Jessica Paquette. We've had so many people on the show. How do you feel the growth of female fans and bettors is going since you've been with DRF?
I think it's good. I think I've always been encouraged when I'm around a lot. We had our second year of the Women's Summit, and we had over 150 women there, I think, and just seeing the interest in all sides of the sport, not just betting, but there's tons of interest in betting too. I see women really wanting to understand how to read the form, how to interpret it, how to construct wagers. So oh, thanks, Brad. I think it's going good. Obviously, Jessica's amazing, breaking barriers there as an announcer. So I'm hoping to see more women show up in roles that are typically male dominated.
Yeah, and Sheree DeVoe, you talk about the horsewomen, Sheree DeVoe. We had Jenna Antonucci on last year. The horsewomen are absolutely crushing it.
Oh, yeah. Sheree's killing it. I'm so excited to start working with her. So we're buying a yearling in September. It's actually our first all-female partnership too.
Oh,
and
wow.
she's gonna train for us. So I'm really excited about that. She's on fire. Yeah, Jenna's on fire. It's awesome.
She's great. The Power Pick tip sheet horse I was talking about was Taking Candy last Saturday, of course, trained by Sheree DeVoe. And Paul, as we've said many times, clearly the smartest handicappers and people in the horse racing business are the women. We've said it many times on the show.
Oh, without question. And how about girl Jessica today? I'm on a little bit of a email thread. She's good enough to share some PPs in the morning. And she promptly this morning gave out a little heads up to play, where is she? The one horse in the second to last race today that paid $36.80.
Nice.
Mrs. Mosley Homebred.
You had to bring that up. That son of a gun knocked me out of the pick 5.
Yeah,
by
you're
an inch.
supposed to tell us that before the races, Paul, not
Yeah.
not
damn
after
it,
the
Pete,
races.
I knew I
Yeah,
forgot something.
Yeah, we like to know before.
Proctor Street, a Proctor's Ledge.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jessica and you yes, I know so many.
Oh.
When I'm at the track, and of course I'm very good friends with Jessica, but Mary Eddy worked for us at the special for 1 year, and now is doing great stuff with Naira. Sarah Gordon is one of my favorites of all time. Katie Petroniak. We're just surrounded by women that are smarter than us, and that's why Alexa fits in well in this show.
Yeah,
Thanks,
absolutely. We got Alexa, another shot from Tom. One of Alexa's horses at 21 plus won at Tampa Bay in the spring. Got me a nice exact. Do you have any idea who that horse might have been? I know you give out so many, $42 horses that you can't keep track of them, but
This wasn't a tout. This is the first horse I purchased at sale. So
oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I've been building my racing syndicate over the last few years and doing it mostly word of mouth. So it's taken some time to get enough investors for our first purchase, but we bought at the Horse Racing Age sale in November, which was an amazing experience. If anybody watching has not made it to a sale just to even spectate, you should go. It's so fun. But yeah, we bought her and she came back and won at 20-something to 1 at Tampa Bay, beat a Chad Brown Klarovich horse by a nose. Is very exciting. So yeah, we're on a roll.
Awesome. Yeah, keep it.
Awesome.
We're proud of you and the group, and just keep it going. Last thing I want to do before we get into handicapping, guys, Adelphi Racing Club, of course, is a proud sponsor of this podcast. I just want to mention them. They're top class partner experience, transparent communication. They've had success on the racetrack. Over 18% of their starters have been in the money, finishing in the money more than 50% of the time since the club's inception in 2020. Recent stake winners such as Funny Bread and a horse called Pandagate, who just won the New York Derby, of course, in Finger Lakes. Somehow, Pete and Paul, that horse went off at 6-5 and was not favored in the race, which is absolutely mind-blowing. But anyway, please check out Adelphi Racing, fantastic racing manager at the bottom of the screen, Matt Cuter. The website is on the screen, adelphiracing.com. You can also email Matt at adelphiracing.com. Please check them out. Alexa, I'm a proud partner with Adelphi Racing, and they sponsored the show, so we want to make sure we gave a shout out to them. All right, guys, let's get into Monmouth, shall we? Fantastic card, as always. Let me take the banner off the screen. We're going to get into it. As I mentioned, ladies and gentlemen that are watching and listening live, and we'll be doing that, of course, as a replay as well. Monmouth has plenty of stakes. Their stakes portion of the card starts in race 5. The race 6 is also a stakes. Their late pick 5 starts in race 8. Race 8 is not a stake, but races 9 through 12 are. So we are very, very briefly going to talk about races 5 and 6, stake races outside of the all stakes late pick 4, and then we'll jump to race 9. You're going to see banners at the bottom of the screen starting with race 9, not with race 5. So let me first on the screen show everyone race 5 entries, of course, sponsored by DRF. Give me just 1 second, please. I click a few buttons here and we'll get it on the screen. Here we go right now. There we go. Race 5 on Saturday.
Hey, Howard, real
Monmouth.
quick before you get to race 5, can you scroll up to race 4 real quick? I wanted to tell Paul real quick.
Sure.
So number 1.
Nick's horse?
Yep, my cousin Nick Paul, who was on the show with us when we did Monmouth, what was that? Whatever, about a month ago when we were doing Haskell preview day or whatever. The number 1, Optical Bijou, making his first start at 3. So they're looking. He's got to win. He broke his maiden, but it was a disqualification. He got bumped up, which is nice, but they want to see the horse hopefully cross the line first. And at 10-1, if anybody wants to play, just not too much. We don't want to knock the odds down too much, but it's been training well, so we'll give it a shot on Saturday. But I wanted to give him a shout since it's exciting because he's tried to draw into like 3 different races that didn't fill.
Got it.
And now you're getting lucky and going on Haskell Day, so they're really excited about that.
All right, well, good luck to Nick and Optical Bijou in race 4.
Yeah.
Race 5, it starts at 1:52 Eastern. we don't talk about the weather because it's going to be amazing this weekend in the Northeast, and it's cool. It's cooled off a little bit as well. It's the Matchmaker, a mile and eighth. This is for older filling mares. It's a grade 3, $300,000 is the purse. Nice field of 7. When I say nice field, it's a bit of a smaller field, but wow, I thought this was really evenly matched and tough to handicap. Pete, your quick opinions on the Matchmaker.
Yeah, so I sort of I was going with Mom and June. The 5 was the horse that I liked the most. I think maybe you and I liked that horse last time out in the Eatontown, and ran a pretty bang up race against a pretty solid field and just couldn't get there late. But I think this is a horse that's just on the improve. And I think that's what we talked about last time, where, hey, this horse just seems to be getting better and better. And if we could take one more step, and I mean, it's under at Brown, it's to see the stars. There's a lot to like about this horse, but I think if it takes the progression that we like, and if you look at those fractions it was closing into, way back and dead last, closing to crawling fractions, still was able to make up some ground. So,
right. I like that. It was glacial. It was so ridiculous last time. Alexa, I apologize. I should have gone to you first. I always go to our new guests first. But what's your thoughts on the Matchmaker, Alexa? I know, just for full disclosure for everyone, Alexa had a very busy day, and she really focused on races 9 through 12. But she said she would throw her ring into the hat or hat into the ring, one of those two, for races 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Alexa, quick thoughts on this race.
Well, my first thought was it's just up to Chad who's going to win this one. I mean, he's got 3 in here with Delahaye, the number 1, and the 5 you mentioned, Mama June, and then Butte Cachet, the 7. Out of those 3, I like the number 1. This is the longest distance she'll ever have tried, but she handled the mile and 16th and then some last out in the grade 3 Mint Julep, and won every start but won this year. So I just like her progression quite a bit. Butte Cachet is obviously taken a step back from just the grade 1 company and has been pretty impressive and gets Frankie Dettori aboard again. So, but I think it's Chad's race.
It says Flavian in the program. Has there been a change, or am I
for Butte Cachet?
Were you talking about Delahaye? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
no,
that's not here.
For Butte Cachet, the number 7, one of his other starters.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
No, you're fine. He gets Dettori again, which is who won on her in the Jenny Wiley, which I was upset.
By the way, Alexa, and I know you'll believe me because I'm saying it, but you could go back and check. Our good friend right below me there, Pete Visco, did tip out Butte Cachet that day at 26-1 on the show, actually. So that was one of Pete's best calls.
I had a live show at Keeneland this year, and it was every Friday, and then we'd preview the feature on Saturday. And one of my co-hosts, Bailey Armour, also tipped it out. And I was totally a non-believer, but y'all proved us wrong.
Well, even the sun shines on a dog's ass every once in a while. We can even the best of us, the worst of us, could sneak one in every once in a while.
No, good call. Good call.
Paul, before I let you chime in, I agree with Alexa. I like Delahaye quite a bit. I've always been a fan of this horse. Chad Flavian, almost guaranteed to get a good trip. I'm not worried about the extra distance. This horse by Medaglia d'Oro out of a Warfront mare. And I think, unfortunately, Alexa, people who like Delahaye, I'm pretty sure we're not getting 7-2. I think this horse will be more like 2-1. I can't imagine this horse is 7-2. But we'll see.
Maybe 3-1. I could see getting a little better with Butte Cachet in here. Yeah. I think that one might take more money, but I hope we get the good odds.
That'd be great. Paul, quick thoughts on the Matchmaker?
I liked the 4 and 5 the best. Surprisingly, Irad for Pletcher. I thought that New York was a good race. Didier ran well, not her best race, but ran well out of it. I like this horse coming back, and Pete talked about the 5, so. What Pete said about the 5, so at least I have one of the Chads. I'm not totally outside the army of Brown here, but my top pick would be the 4.
Okay, yeah, I think it's going to be a fun race. It's only 7 horses, but like I said, I'm just looking at the entries. Like literally, any horse could win. I suppose Pelio's not impossible if you squint really hard and take a look at the number 2, but it's mainly, it's a pretty wide open race. We got some people in the chat I have not seen. I don't believe Rudy Nastiv in the chat. Rudy, welcome to the show. If you've been on before, I apologize, but I don't think we've read a comment from you. Let's stack it and bring it this Saturday.
All right.
Why not?
Gratitude.
Right.
I like that too. Let's go to race 6. Race 6, there's a major standout here. I think we'd all agree with that. Race 6 is the Molly Pitcher Stakes, $500,000. Guys, I don't recall the purse being this big in the past, so maybe I just don't recall exactly. But wow, $500,000 for the Molly Pitcher, grade 3, mile of 16th for the fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, and the huge favorite for sure is going to be Idiomatic. Alexa, 3-5 morning line. She was upset last time on Belmont Stakes 8 Saratoga by Randomize. However, Randomize got a little bit loose. It was a very speed favoring track. Maybe Giroux was a little bit overconfident, or, Idiomatic still, I think, ran a 99 buyer. We'll look at the PPs, but I'm assuming that's who you're going with here.
Yep, you're right. I just don't see a legitimate threat in here. I mean, she's so consistent. And when she gets the lead, she keeps it and wins. And when I'm looking at the pace setup here, I mean, if you look at the time form numbers, her early pace is a 1:14, and the next.
Here's the map. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
show the map.
The next fastest early is an 89 on the 5. Like, I think she's just gonna take the lead, and everyone's gonna be running for second.
It sure looks that way. I mean, it's not a lot of directions here. You just send and go. I think, you know what, Pete and Paul and Alexa, I think this is really good spotting by Cox and Juddmonte, because they could have easily gone to, what is it, the Personal Ensign? Is that Travers Day, Paul? The Personal Ensign at Saratoga?
It's moved around. It could be the day before, but
okay.
it is that weekend. Yes,
I'm assuming that's where they're going to go next. This is just that absolutely perfect spot. Monmouth, you can close in Monmouth, but it tends to be a little more speed favoring. Paul, this is a complete monster. I mean, there's not much to say. What happened last time? Just Randomize just ran a hole in the wind. I mean,
I kind of agree with you. I think Randomize had a little bit of a better trip, and I think, you sit on these horses, and the horse had won 6 in a row, and jockeys are humans too. I think maybe Florent thought she was invincible, and I'll be honest with you, I kind of liked Randomized a little bit in this spot. But having said all of that, she lost by 4 noses. Yeah. So, and I think you were kind, Howard, when you said Monmouth is a little kind to speed. It's like saying the Titanic was a minor marine mishap.
It depends on the day, but in general.
Now, the only thing you could say is, after 4 consecutive triple-digit buyers, she said 3 consecutive under 100. But to Alexa's point, as I looked around here, who's going to be the only possibility I could come up with is if the 5 ran a career best race, maybe. But
and
look at the time form. No, that's okay. Doesn't the time form say it all? The time
really
form
does.
says she's going to be ahead by 5 lengths at the turn, and that's about right.
I know someone as part of our show who'd like to see Misty Vale win. That is Noah Maher. Noah Maher, who's one of our co-hosts on our Benton and Boozin show, Alexa, is an intern for Resolute Racing. He's a college student. And he works for Resolute Racing. So, although she is entered on Sunday at Saratoga, I haven't heard details about that, where she's going. Pete, there's not much to add here, really. I mean, I'll tell you what, Pete, I'll throw this. Who do you got for second? Give me a cold punch exacta. Idiomatic over who?
You have the 5 on the screen. Yeah, okay. I thought Misty Vale at least seems to be going in the right direction. I mean, 6-year-old who pops a lifetime buyer top, though, that doesn't always happen, but can at least sit a good trip. And if Idiomatic does get away, then Misty Vale. Just a really bad field. I think Alexa hit it on the head where I I wouldn't have a hard time trying to beat Idiomatic if anybody in the field stood out as a threat.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it turned up really weak, and there was no one I could. I mean, Kathleen O is used to be one of my favorites, and she just doesn't get it done. Yeah, and nobody's going to run down Idiomatic if she's able to get to the lead clean and back it down and sort of do it at her own pace. Then I don't see anybody running by her.
We're featuring Monmouth on our Power Picks tip sheet, guys, so I don't want to say everything that's going to be on there, but I will say I'm going to use the 3 underneath as my cold punch exacta to try to get some value. I think Just Catherine, needed that last start, ran very well actually against a nice Exceed, who's a nice horse. She's got plenty of 2-turn races to go back to, and maybe an improving 4-year-old Justify filly. Maybe she's rounding into form, guys, and can not threaten Idiomatic, but maybe, what's wrong with a 6-1 exacta, right? Alexa, you're a contest player. There are ways to make money in this kind of race. You just got to find a horse underneath, right?
Yeah, you just have to have a strong opinion and play it hard, because you're not going to be able to spread in that exacta.
No, definitely not. All right, guys, let's get to the all stakes late pick 4. I thought it was really good and very interesting because, in my opinion at least, and we'll talk about it, I thought there were 2 absolutely cluster spread races and 2 races in which you could single if you have a strong opinion. I don't think you have to play a very big ticket, guys, for this sequence on Saturday. That being said, the pick 4 will probably pay $4,000 and it'll be bombs away everywhere. But let's go ahead and start with race 9, guys. Race 9, the start of the late pick 4 on Saturday is the Wolf Hill. It's about 5.5 furlongs on the turf, $100,000. You see I'm scrolling down the field. We're using the DRF entries this evening. The morning line favorite, I'm still scrolling there. The morning line favorite is the number 5, Arzak, for Trombetta, and I'm looking for the John and Irad, a guy named Irad. Yeah, he's pretty good. Let's go ahead and go with our banners here on the bottom of the screen. You'll see our picks, and they'll be scrolling. This is the first time now everyone has seen the banners across the bottom of the screen. I'm going 8-5-1. Pete's going 5-1-8. Paul's going 5-8-1. And Alexa is not using the 1, but she is using the 5 and the 8. She's going 5-4-8. As our guest, Alexa, kick us off on this late pick 4 with the very talented Arzak, your top choice.
Yeah, I am using the favorite, Arzak. He is kind of on a roll here. Winning 3 out of 5 most recent starts, including 2 grade 2s, lost the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint by 2 lengths. So that was still a really good performance. Also ran really well in the Jaipur, getting second to Cogburn. He's only run once at Monmouth, but it was and it wasn't super great, but it was 3 years ago and on yielding turf. So I'm not super concerned about it. I just think he seems to be in form. I'll be using him, but I'm spreading in here. I'm actually using 1 more than is on the screen for a super long shot. I don't think this is a race where you can for sure just land on the favorite. I think a lot of things could happen.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Let's just get to it. I think your bomb is this number 7, Outlaw Country. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Why don't you talk a little about this horse for the players out there who like to find a big price?
Yeah. Okay. This is definitely the toughest spot he's ever seen. 15-1 morning line. He loves Monmouth.
Yes.
And that's really truly my angle here. Also, look at this improvement. I mean, he's won 4 out of 5 starts on this course. He's coming off of a win. Still probably too tough of a spot for him, but the jumps and the buyer figures over the last race, I just know this horse loves this course so much.
It's an angle I love, Alexa. I'm sure you use it in your regular play and contest play. Is progressive 4-year-olds. Obviously, this one is improving and had been on the turf before, but whatever Kelly Breen has found is working. Before we get to Pete and Paul, I'd be remiss not to ask you. I know this could be a question that you could take an hour to answer. General strategy when you handicap a race. Are you more of a buyer's girl? Do you like to look at the pace first, or you look at class? What's your main go-to, in the first 30 seconds of looking at a race?
Yeah. So the very first thing I do is I go to the pace projector on Timeform just to get an idea of the setup. And because I just think it's so important, you have to know how this race is going to unfold and, how many speed horses we have in here, how many closers do we have in here. Yeah. And then the second thing I do is go over and I scan through buyers. So kind of a little bit of both. I want to first know the setup. and then do that, and then look at distance and who's matches this spot. Those will be my first 3 steps.
You're also the only one on the screen that likes Allegan, I believe it's pronounced, for Edward Allard and Adorno. A lot of A's. Wow. It's like it's an A fest with the name and the jockey and the trainer. What did you like about this one? I mean, obviously it was in a very tough Jaipur and had the 10 hole. You take that race off the page. And by the way, it was a 112 time form, which is really, and again, we could talk about buyer versus time form all day, but I mean, this horse fits on its best. Interesting horse that you're going to be using in second here.
Yeah, so this horse has a lot of upside to me, a lot of his tactical speed. He's been almost a year since winning, finding the winner's circle, because he won this race last year. Yeah. So, he won this race with a 95. If you toss the Jaipur, which I agree was a tough place, then he seems to be right up there in that same performance level that he won it with last year. So I think there's a chance he'll be a defending champ.
I like that. And for those people who are not familiar with Monmouth, and Pete, I know you are as much as anyone on the screen, that 5.5 furlong turf, there's a little bit of a bend. It's like a very slight, it's not a turn. It's like a little bit of a left-hand bend. If you're on the inside, you need to either show speed or really take back. Because, Pete, it seems like every other 5.5 furlong turf race at Monmouth, you see someone checking or steadying hard on the inside. So jocks really have to be aware of that, don't they, Pete?
Yeah, it's definitely a weird. I mean, you could see the configuration even if you show it on the screen there. It's definitely a weird. Yeah, for sure. So if you're stuck there, and if they're coming over on you, you can sort of get out of whack if you're on the inside. That's why for those of us who like the one, I don't think we're gonna have to worry about that, because that horse is just going to go backwards at the beginning anyway. So we're not going to have to worry about that there. But yeah, for sure.
I like number 8, guys. Let's talk about Nothing Better. This horse is just super consistent. And Alexa, I don't know if you feel the same way, and I'll let you chime in when I'm finished here. I don't mind outside post and sprint races, whether it's turf or dirt, but especially on the turf, and especially with this configuration, because Nothing Better can break, and Ruiz can just look to his left and make a decision. If the horse breaks well, he can just go. If he doesn't break great, or someone just hell-bent, he can just sit. I just think it is an advantage, and it might be counterintuitive to some handicappers, but I think it is an advantage to be on the outside. You don't want to be in the 12 hole, but the 8 is perfectly fine. This horse has done nothing wrong. He is 7. I'm a little bit negative to the age factor, but he ran really well last time in the Mighty Bow, and I just see no reason why Nothing Better can't win. Owned by Colts Neck Stables, guys, which is New Jersey connection. So, they absolutely want to win. Paul, you've got this one second. Any thoughts on Nothing Better, Paul? And then we'll talk about Amon from the inside.
Yeah, no, I like what you said, Howard. I think the horse is forward. Another horse for course, HFC, noted on my PPs with 4 wins at Monmouth out of 9 and 7 out of 9 in the money. So yeah, I two of very, very consistent on the bias scale, and very close to that 100 number. And you're not expecting him to advance as a 7-year-old, but that his typical race puts him right in the mix here, I think.
And I believe there's not a ton of crazy speed, if I remember. Yeah, which now it doesn't say slow, Alexa, but it doesn't say fast, which you usually get that in a turf sprint. So if Nothing Better is there, that would be a feather in his cap, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's gone to the front and won many a time. So I'm not super concerned about the post. Like you said, it's not the 12 hole, and with the kind of funky shape of the course on this sprint, I'd rather have him there than on the inside.
For sure. Absolutely. Pete, I'm interested in the one if the pace heats up. My main angle on the one is I know I just sort of poo-pooed the inside, but the bottom line is it's Paco, and you figure he's not going to steady with this horse, because Paco is deadly at Monmouth. This is just a really honest closer who's been facing really good horses and has every shot to win if the race flow works out.
Yeah, this is just sort of a horse I have a soft spot for, that I keep trying to catch, and I think is going to run, and he runs a consistent race, but it's usually just not good enough. He usually just leaves himself too much to do, and that's generally his undoing. And he hasn't gotten, if you look on there, he hasn't gotten too many of like the super hot pace races in front of him. So he sort of gets stuck in the back. They don't go fast enough up front, and he closes for a piece. And I could see him doing that here, but I hate to. And at 4-1, it's not like you'd be so upset if you miss him at 4. But I feel like one of these days he's going to pop. And I tried to catch him, I think, 3 back and 2 back. And again, he just leaves himself a little bit too much to do. I guess it depends on what the 3 does. The 3's the other speed, sort of cheap speed. I don't think will really have a hand in the race at the end, but can make it more difficult for the 8, and then we can maybe heat it up a little bit if the 3 just sort of pushes and the 8 sort of tries to go with him, and maybe we can get a little bit more pace up there.
You know, Pete, I'm glad you mentioned the 3 because the 3 is just claimed by a very talented trainer, Brittany Russell, and if the 3 breaks, is there Alexa? I have a weird feeling I'm going to use this 3 in the pick 4 as an extreme backup, because it's turf sprints and weird crap happens. If he breaks, I guess in theory he could get loose in this race, the 3.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to go to the lead. I think he'll break to the lead. And he is kind of the only real true leader type in here, but he just keeps giving away pretty bad in his start. So
maybe Brittany can wake him up a little bit. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see.
Well, nothing better though should be right on his hip. So
you would think
it's not like he's going to let him get. I don't imagine he's going to let him get too far away. So
yeah.
And
if you look at the race that he did go to the lead and win, like he still was slowing quite a bit in those. Final.
Yeah, he's probably not good enough. Maybe a bomb to throw underneath in your try or super.
You never know.
No, you don't. Rob Capobo in the chat. The Molly Pitcher rest stop on the New Jersey Turnpike is fantastic.
It's awesome.
Paul, you familiar with that?
It's very nice. Yes.
Is it?
I've been there. Yes.
Yeah, I like that one.
It's like a restaurant also? I mean, is it just...
There's just like little food courty type, like any rest stop, but it's a nicer one. It's not one of those old rundown rinky-dink ones that you go to. But that is if you're on the Turnpike and you get hungry, pop in there.
Is that what the race is named after? After the rest stop?
I assume they're both named after the same thing. I would imagine. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
Not each other, I imagine.
All right. Let's go to race 10, guys. Scrolling on the bottom of the screen are our picks for race 10. This is the Monmouth Cup. Whoops, there we go. This is the Monmouth Cup Stakes for the boys, 3-year-olds and up, mile and eighth, grade 3. $400,000 is the purse. You see, it's a nice field of 8. Look who's on the bottom of the screen, Paul. Our buddy Tappet Trice. Will he run? Because he's been entered a few times and hasn't run. He is not the morning line favorite, though, because there's a very talented Cox Drew Godolphin horse. No, not First Mission. It's number 3, Highland Falls at 6-5. You can see on the screen I'm going 3-8-4. Pete's going 3-8-6. Paul's going 3-1-8. Alexa is going 3-4-6. Pete, we're all going to Highland Falls. A lot of weight on his shoulders. I'm not sure it's going to matter, though.
No, actually, the only thing that surprised me about this race was the morning line. I didn't expect him to be that low. So when I had picked him, I thought, I really like this horse in this spot. I didn't like the way the rest of the field came up, but I wasn't expecting 6-5. So that's pretty short. But yeah, this is just a good horse. I mean, you see the Blame was a nice race. I mean, again, I don't know if it was the greatest field in the world, but he did it right, and he won it the way he's supposed to. He could usually sit mid-pack, and I think there's a little bit of speed in here, so I think the trip shouldn't be an issue. And even the loss 2 back to Skippy Longstocking, when he's right and he's in the right company, has been just in really good form. And so I don't look at that loss as anything negative. And you see the buyers and even the time form. And the time forms, even though the buyer didn't improve the last one, the time forms are really progressing. And that 125, that's pretty, I mean, that's high level. That's, that's getting close to like Breeders' Cup Classic level time form numbers. So I just feel like this is a horse on the up and up. It's no shock, and Paul's going to talk about it, no shock, Curling Godolphin. I mean, again, that was even lower than 6-5, right, Paul?
Pete,
that was 1
as
to
a
9,
matter of fact, well, Howard, I really hope Tappet Trice stays in here because I didn't have the morning lines, and I get it. We've talked enough about him on this show, but I think that Tapper Trice could serve to give you a better price on Highland Falls than you deserve in this race, because I love Highland Falls in this race, and I really hope Tapper Trice stays in to siphon some other people's money instead of just the people on the show.
I think Alexa agrees with you because Tapper Trice is a strong 2-1, and Alexa has this horse absolutely nowhere, and I completely get it. Alexa, just let you know, Paul has a very relationship with Godolphin because he's in the midst of writing a book about Cody's Wish, if you did not know that. And we've been to the Godolphin farm, and we have a good relationship with Godolphin. Of course, Tapper Trice was our podcast Derby future bet last year. We which he gave us a thrill there for a while. But anyway, let's talk about your 4, and then I think we'll just move on, guys. There's really not too much to talk about here. It's pretty, looks like it's gonna be Highland Falls. Counter Spy, interesting, 10-1 again, 4-year-old. I like the sort of non-effort last time, Alexa, which might sound weird, but that means we're going to get a better price. This one could get loose and be a factor.
Yeah, I think, he's a bit on again, off again for sure. But if you follow that, he should be on again here. But no, the reason why I chose this horse and even consider putting him in first was the pace setup. I just think he's the only true leader in here. The reason why I did end up putting the 3 back on top is because that horse has closed into slow paces before. Obviously, really strong contender, but it is said to be a slow pace to favor the front runners. And if you kind of ignore those bad performances, I mean, he has really strong performances. That one in June at Parks was very interesting. I think he could get away.
Yeah, he's like one of those horses, Alexa, I don't know what you think, is where he's not necessarily fast enough at the sprint to get the leads, but when you stretch him out a little bit, he can get on the lead when they don't have to go as fast to get it. And then once he does, he's tough. It's just in those sprint races, he hasn't been able to get to the lead, and then he just sort of seems to pack it in. But in this race, I don't think that's going to happen. He should get to the top.
He should get to the top. And if you look at that April 16th race at Parks, I mean, it heavily favored closers, and he stretched out by 10 lengths. So, I mean, he definitely can get away and fight the pace setup at times. So,
Alexa, this is a good question for someone who owns horses and has syndicate. From a breeding standpoint, it's obviously gun runner, but the dam side's very sprinty. You can see it simplifies PPs as the dam. Any concerns about the 9 furlongs for Counter Spy?
Not super concerned, just because I honestly only really value pedigree in the first 3 to 5 starts, and after that, I feel like we really know what this horse is capable of, and if he's measuring up to the pedigree or not. And he's won at a mile before, won at a mile and 70, so I'm not super concerned about it.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if Highland Falls and jockey Drew, I mean, they're going to read the form. Drew can be aggressive when he needs to be. I mean, he rode gun runner. So, I mean, I have a feeling Highland Falls, Paul's going to be a little bit closer to the pace than normal. But the fact that the main speed, Paul, breaks outside of Highland Falls is a little bit dicey. I know you guys sort of poo-pooed me on that when I've mentioned that because you're like, it doesn't matter. And some people don't think it does. I think it can, Paul, because if Counter Spy, gets a flyer and sort of, immediately comes left out of the gate, I'm not saying they're going to purposely do it, but I could see Highland Falls, having to get bumped or something a little bit unusual, Alexa. And Paul, is that thinking, or is that possible?
Well, I mean, it's Paco, so if it happens, it certainly is on purpose. Let's be clear on that. It won't be any accident.
Paco on the floor. Oh boy.
Yeah,
okay.
But I don't really think it. I mean, if there's a lot of contact, it's one thing, but I agree with Alexa. I think the 3 is going to be close enough, and I think Giroux learned his lesson. Giroux rode a very, very non-aggressive, bad Santa Anita handicap on this horse. I have no idea what he was thinking. He was not winning that race from last out in California, going 1.25 miles. And had a mid-pack 2 races ago and mid-pack last time. I think as long as he, gets a clean trip, he's very tough here.
Totally agree. We got a lot of people watching, literally hundreds of people watching. We really thank you. Please comment in the chat if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're on X, thanks for watching. You might want to switch over to our YouTube so you can join our chat. Next race, guys, has my play of the day. I'm very, very, very interested in a horse.
Wait. I want to mention one more. I want to backtrack for just a second and mention one more because it's a big bomb. And again, I think this is one to use underneath. I will include it just in case Highland Falls just falls short of the performance today. But the number 6, Surface to Air. So this horse, if you look, was claimed and has now improved 24 speed points in 2 starts with this new trainer. And the trainer's 32% for winning last out with almost a $4 ROI. And then he's got that bullet work at 4-47. So I just think that is one to definitely keep in mind at 20-1. Maybe not at 8-1, but at 20-1, keep it in mind.
Okay. I like that exacta, Alexa. I like the Highland Falls Surface to Air. I had him in 3rd, but I like that exacta, actually. I mean, just catching a horse that's just hot and the rest of the field is good, but not, nothing crazy. So
I actually used him in the early pick 5 when he upset like a horse was like 2-5 in that race, and he looked really good doing it. Although he did get a perfect trip, but he's obviously improved tremendously. Yeah. And so that's an interesting horse. Again, Tappa Trice is definitely going to be very polarizing, because if he's in the race, he's going to be low odds, and looks like we're all going to try to beat him, and we'll see what happens. Let's get to the United Nations, guys. United Nations is race 11, and it's a really fun race. You see our picks on the bottom of the screen. You see a lot of common numbers. Let me go to the entries right now. It's always a really nice distance turf race for the males every year. It is, again, race 11, mile and 3/8, grade 2, $600,000. I think at one point it was $1 million, but anyway, it's $600,000 now. It's a large field of 12, and the morning line favorite, I believe, is Farbridge, right? Yes, is the number 12, Farbridge, a horse we all know very well. Clement and Jose Ortiz. And Pete, look who's running on Saturday. Your boy, and of course you're to go with them. I'm going to let you go first, Pete. Web Slinger, 9-2, Cassian Saez. He actually did win last time. Pete, explain to our new viewers, and Alexa especially, what is with the love for Web Slinger with you and your family?
Well, it's just my son. My son liked it because we're a big Spider-Man household here, so we had to, when I show him the horses every once in a while, and he had a Spider-Man bedroom at the time when we first started doing the show. He had a full Spider-Man bedroom, so I have to stick with my boy, even though he did screw me in the, what was that? What race was that?
Which race? There's so many to choose from, Pete.
No, I know. Oh, I can't remember which race it was when he completely. Oh, it was in the American Turf when he won. When I actually didn't have him as an A horse and I needed
on Derby Day.
And Farbridge was the one I guess technically screwed me, but. Yeah, but I mean, the one thing I do like, in all seriousness, about Web Slinger is I think maybe these longer distance, above the 1 1/8, now we're at 1 3/8. Maybe this is just going to be more to his liking, because he always has trouble sort of getting up for the win. Like, he always runs his race. He's always there. Maybe going a little longer. Maybe this is just going to, I'm hoping he just sort of finds his place and finds his home at this distance. I think he's always been talented. He, like I said, he always gives you a run, so you never really feel wanting. You just can't get the win very often. So I like him in the mix for sure. But this is a wide open spread race for me.
It is. He's only 4. It seems like he's been running.
Yeah, feels like he's got 1,000 race. I mean, 17 at 4 is a lot these days. So.
It is. He's really consistent. You just going to depend on trip. It is a 3-turn race. So Saya's going to have to work out the first turn. I mean, he's going to take back, but there's still a lot of horses to navigate there. But Web Slinger is very honest. Paul, let's go to you. You're going to go with Farbridge, a horse that Pete already mentioned. Ran a really nice race against Measured Time and Nation's Pride, the 1-2 Godolphin pair in the Manhattan. Maybe this horse is just wanting to go a bit longer all long. Again, another progressive 4-year-old. I sound like a broken record.
Oh, well, you've done that before, so don't worry about it. I'm disappointed. I don't know what I was expecting, but I don't love the fact that I landed on the morning line favorite from the 12 post, but 3 turns, it should make less of a difference. You know what they say, save ground on the first 2 and then do whatever you want on the third. So if he wants to save ground on the first, he's probably going to be pretty far behind. He probably won't be behind Webslinger, though, Pete. If you look at the pace projector, Webslinger didn't even make it. There's 12 horses in the race. He did not make the pace projector, Pete.
No, it's always good. It's always a good feeling, right? Yeah. At least we got the fire on there. We got the fire fast pace, so that's something.
I got a funny feeling, Pete. He's one of those horses who's a big closer who is somehow better at shorter distances because he packs more of a punch. I hope I'm wrong for your sake if you're picking him, but I don't necessarily know that the extra distance. But Farbridge, if Jose can work out a trip, this horse was really, really good last year. And he came back this year with a comeback race just to get his legs loose, and did not got in a little trouble, but didn't run great in the Turf Classic, albeit a good field. And to your point, Howard, very good race, I thought, with 2 really good horses last time. And I think the Manhattan race, an exact duplication of that race, I believe wins this race. For a turf race, I'll say handily by more than a length.
Wow. Okay. He's definitely a factor. I think with the 10 and the 11 inside of him, Paul, I actually think Jose is going to ask the first 100 yards. I'm not saying he's going to send, but you know what I mean? Just to get in front of those 2 and sort of get the jump on the bigger closes. I see Farbridge sort of mid-pack. I don't think he's going to take back fully out of the gate, but that's going to be good. It's going to,
that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, he's definitely a factor here. Alexi, let's go to your top choice, which is a horse that none of us have in our top 3. So clearly, guys, we're completely wrong. Fort Washington, Alexa. I have a little history with this horse. I chased this horse early in his career so many times because he just closes like an absolute train. In the Canadian turf, I loved him at 13-1. I still remember that in March of 23, and he just, his close was amazing. He just kept tempting me, but he could never get there, or usually didn't get there. And I was like, I've had enough. And then of course I don't use him in the Monmouth Cup, and he was actually more tactical. So I don't know if that's an angle that you like. I'm sure you'll talk about, but Shug has found a way to get some more early speed into this horse, but still with a finishing kick. I don't think he's a finished product. I like this horse. I just think it's a really tough spot though.
It's definitely a tough spot. This is a spread race for me. But I watched the Monmouth Cup probably 4 or 5 times, at least the finish of it, because we have 5 of those horses in here today. So
I'll let you talk about it. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Fort Washington is the 7. I'll take it to the top of the stretch, and you can let's see if I can do that. And let me take it a little bit before that. You can talk about it. He's going to be wide here in the blue. Go ahead, Fort Washington.
Yeah, he's wide here in the blue. And like I said, there's so many of them that are back in here today. And this is a little bit longer distance, right? So I was really watching the very end to see who looks like they were tiring and who looks like that extra distance is going to help. And I really thought only 2. At first, I thought the 5 here was looking like he, is going to like some more distance, but he does flatten out a little bit. But I think the number 7, the one I like here, and also Tawny Port were the 2 who I was like, okay, some added distance might be of help. And since it's such a spread race, I like the 8-1 on him. He just won here over the same course against half of the field. So 8-1 seems like pretty juicy odds to me.
I think he's interesting. I'll talk about my opinion of this race we just watched in a minute. I do like the fact that I think he still could improve again. Third start of the form cycle, Alexa, is another angle that I know some handicappers appreciate. Is that something you notice, or is that a bit overrated?
It's not something I spend a lot of time looking at. I think it's definitely something you have to pay a little bit of attention to, but it's not one of my main factors.
Guys, I've had, some success. Sometimes it's a dud, but I go for it on the show, as you guys know. I love Dataman in this spot at 10-1, the number 7 horse. I'm not going to show both replays, but if you go watch the replays, guys, of Dataman, he just looks like he wants to go further, and he's just coming into his own. He's a big gray. Graham Motion knows what he's doing. I realize he's a little bit slow on the buyers, but Pete, as we've talked about on the show a bunch of times, his time form numbers absolutely fit in this race. And I'm going to trust the time form numbers in here. I also trust Graham Motion, who could send this horse, guys, to a lot of different spots, right? And he decides to go here. Ruiz stays on. He's got to work out a trip just like everyone else, but this is a tap it out of a Maria's Mon mare. Soldado is a nice horse. You're going to get a price. And my main theme here, Alexa and Pete and Paul, I'll let you comment, and we'll go on to the Haskell. I do not like the race that a lot of these horses, the Monmouth Cup, at all. I don't like 7-8 horses at the wire. They're all decent enough horses. I'm going to use a lot of them as backups. I just don't like the Monmouth grade 3 in general. And I want a fresh face. And to me, that narrows it down to like the 7, 10, 11, 12. And this is the one that's going to be the biggest price and most progressive. Any quick thoughts on my negativity for the Monmouth race, the Monmouth grade 3 race that for Washington won, Pete and Paul? And then we'll move on.
No, I could see that. That seems to make sense because it was because even running B, who I needed in that race and was pretty happy with the dead heat because I thought he was dead in the water down the lane. I didn't think anybody aside from Fort Washington, I thought everybody else wasn't coming home great. So I thought Fort Washington was the only one who really kicked in and maybe was just a beneficiary of others not running well late. So I agree with you. And I really like the 7 as well. I mean, you get a horse we always talk about the progression from 3 to 4. Yeah. Came back at 4. If you're just looking from a buyer or a time form, runs the top and then runs it again and keeps winning. So it could just be a natural, hey, this horse came back better at 4. So if you almost ignore the races at 3 and look at it as purely the 4-year-old races, he fits pretty well. Maybe he needs to step up just from a class standpoint.
Yeah,
but
a little bit.
In this field, again, you have a lot of the horses we're relying on are closers too. So anytime you're relying on closers, there's a chance of them not getting there late.
Jim Pilars, I feel you, who Fort Washington knocked me out of the pick 5. Me too, Jim. I feel you. Go ahead, Paul.
I was going to say, Howard, I'm giggling because I came this close to picking the 7. And it's funny, you and I land on the same long shot a disproportionate amount of time.
We do.
I was this close to picking the 7. I am right with you.
I feel good about that, Paul. I just, I especially of the three of us is a visual player. I just love the stride on this horse. I just think there's a lot more there. But he's going to have to work out a trip, and we all know that, blah, blah, blah. Guys, let's talk about the Haskell. This is the feature race of the day. Normally we talk about this race for like 15, 20 minutes, but I gotta be honest, there's not a lot to talk about, unfortunately, or whatever. I don't know. I don't want to be Debbie Downer here, but first of all, Alexa, let's talk about the big news of this race. And that is that as of this show, Thursday night, we are not 100% sure that Dornoch is going. Danny Gargan, the trainer, expressed some concern. Let me take off the banner here. Danny Gargan expressed some concern about the rail. As we know, Dornoch drew the rail in the Derby, as if the Derby is the same as the Haskell, but don't get me started. But he did express some concerns. We're not exactly sure if he's going here or the Jim Danny next week. And what we do know for sure, though, is Pletcher's other horse in this race, Mindframe, Fierceness, number 5 Fierceness is definitely not running if Mindframe is running. And as of now, Mindframe's definitely running. So we're pretty sure Fierceness is not.
Oh, did I see something today, or was it just crap on Twitter where he said now he's not sure Fierceness might go regardless of Mindframe? Did you see that, Paul, anywhere today?
I didn't.
I saw it scrolling, but I don't remember if it was somebody else quoting. So, it's Twitter, so any crap could be
It's also Rapoli who likes to...
who he says anything. So I was like, you know what? Now I just wait till Saturday morning and see what happens. But he made it seem like Fierceness wasn't completely out now, but who the hell knows?
Well, we've also got Tuscan Sky, Alexa, a nice Pletcher horse who I had last time at Monmouth. Wasn't a creative pick. He was 2-1 or whatever he was. But Timberlake is back for Cox, for people that like Timberlake, and then you got a New Jersey Bear on the outside. I mean, if let's just assume for this conversation at the end of the show here, Alexa, that Dornoch is running and that Fierceness is not running. If you believe that, it's basically, I think most people feel it's a 2-horse race between Dornoch, and Mindframe. Let's see if you agree with that. Here's our picks on the bottom of the screen. We are all going with Mindframe. I'm going 7-1-3. Pete's going 7-3-1. Paul 7-1-4. Alexa and I are exactly the same, 7-1-3.
Yeah.
Alexa, is it fair to say Mindframe is the most talented 3-year-old colt in the country right now, although not the most accomplished horse?
Definitely. I actually don't think it's a 2-horse race. I'm singling Mindframe in here.
I like it.
I don't want to say my best bet of the day is a favorite, but it is, I mean, he's just so talented. And I think he was the best horse in the Belmont. I am one of the believers who think the speed bias really helped Dornoch that day. And yeah, he's tactical. I mean, there's not a lot to say. He's great. And if he continues, he doesn't even have to improve, I don't think. I think if he just keeps doing what he's doing, he'll win.
And he was also goofy in the lane here at the end, right? When they switched to the left-hand stick and he sort of came out a little bit, Alexa, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's only run 3 times. So he's very still very much still learning, but to show the talent that he's shown with only 3 starts is, I mean, I think he's, like you said, one of the most talented horses, one of the most talented 3-year-olds we have right now.
Just sit off Dornoch, engage him early. What would be your tactics if you, if you own the horse and you were sitting next to Rapoli in the paddock and you were talking to Irad, Alexa? How quickly do you engage Dornoch? I think that is a very important question in this race, right?
And it's also interesting, like if you look at the pace projector in this race, Dornoch does not have the fastest early speed, which is also how he does tend to win races, is being up there. I think there's a lot more competition that he's going to be faced with. So I don't know. I can see why they consider pulling him out. It's a very tough spot for him. He didn't perform well on the rail in the Derby, but I agree that's more of a Derby issue than a rail issue.
With Tuscan Sky in there, Alexa, which is the other Pletcher that's definitely going. Are there going to be some team tactics? I mean, they've got Tuscan Sky. They've got Tuscan Sky on the lead in the early Timeform US, and I got mad love for Craig Milkowski and the boys at Timeform. I don't see that. Dornoch has to go, doesn't he? I mean, has to go.
He has to go, but I do see Tuscan Sky more of a pawn to deal with Dornoch in here. I mean, Pletcher is in the nice position where he can control a lot of the pace scenario in here. And I mean, obviously that's one of the ways you win these things is handicapping and playing against the other horses. So yeah, I see Tuscan Sky kind of matching Dornoch a little bit. But I'm on Mindframe.
Yeah, I agree with you. Paul, what do you think Castellano's going to do? Or what do you think the Pletcher's going to do here with Tuscan Sky? Is he just going to let them break and see what happens? Do you think there's actually going to be a strategy for the race to have Tuscan Sky go after Dornoch early, or have Castellano at least be aggressive and look to his left? And if Dornoch doesn't break great, it could be like one of those Baffert kind of, fullback kind of things. And he could play fullback to Mindframe, who could just sit outside Tuscan Sky. It just feels like Mindframe has so many things going for him in this race, Paul, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think Tuscan Sky will be aggressive, to answer your question, Howard, for all the reasons. I do think Gargan will run here. The race is worth twice as much. As we said, it's going to probably be no more than a 7-horse race. The Jim Dandy all of a sudden isn't, not going to be any walk in the park.
No.
So the two things I'm pretty sure are going to happen, that Dornoch's going to run and Fierceness isn't. Johnny Velasquez, folks, is named on 10 horses at Saratoga Saturday in 8 different races. He's named on 2 in 2 races. 6 of them for Pletcher, including the horse who's the second choice. And if anyone is going to beat Torpedo Anna, the popular opinion is it could be Leslie's Rose. Now, if we think that Velasquez is going to give up 8 of those, I mean, he will, but I just don't see them taking 10 mounts if they thought there was much of a chance that he was going to have to go to Monmouth. So I fully expect Fierceness to scratch, which is great. We will see him in the Jim Dandy, Howard. He may come to our meet and greet on his way to the test barn, to the stakes barn, rather.
Really?
Yeah, you never know.
That would
I think Dornoch runs because, I'm missing something, because with this run to the turn in a 7-8 horse field, could someone explain to me again why the rail is so bad? I missed that. Could someone get Mr. Gargan on the line and explain why having a speed horse on the rail at Monmouth is a bad thing?
I think he's.
I think Mr. Baffett. If we got Mr. Baffett on the phone, he's sent out a lot of horses who, if they didn't break to the rail, he got them over there pretty quickly. So I just think that's a lot of noise. I think Dornoch runs. And having said all of that, I agree with all of you except Pete, who hasn't given us his wisdom yet, but I know he'll be eloquent. I think Mind Frame, is a little goofy at third start in the Belmont. Just has to keep improving, and by improving, get a little less goofy, which I fully expect he will. And I think he's the horse to beat, regardless of what happens on the inside. But I will be honest with you, if he gets beat, I think there's a better chance he gets beat by Tuscan Sky.
Interesting.
Me too.
Wow. Okay. Pete, I'm a little bit of a workout nerd. I like looking at workouts. This horse has been working unbelievably. I mean, he's blowing by Fiercest and Tuscan Sky in the workouts. And I think, we saw Mind Frame down at Churchill, actually. When I say we, I mean myself and the B&B boys when we were down for the Derby weekend. This is just a really impressive animal. And, Pete, I'll ask you a question. Let's say he wins this race and does it well. Is he a potential Breeders' Cup Classic threat, you think, in a few months, or we're not ready to say that yet?
Yeah, why not? I mean, he's as much talent as anyone else. I still don't know who the best classic horse is right now. I mean, we're depending upon foreigners to come over and be the best horses in the races in a lot of cases. So, I mean, he can't beat Forever Young. He can't beat, City of Troy, who's going to be on the dirt for the first time. I mean, who else are we going to have to worry about from the U.S. side? I mean, there's horses that aren't that great. I mean, it's horses. Alexa put it great. It's 3 starts, and if he can just run straight and take the whip a little bit, then who the hell knows? Sky's the limit, hopefully. And that's what we want to see. We like superstars. We want to see big time horses run big time races, and I agree. But I agree with Paul where I think Tuscan Sky has a shot. Where if Tuscan Sky does engage Dornoch, and for some reason Mind Frame is a little further back, and maybe Tuscan Sky can kick away, similar to what he looked like last time. They put the blinkers on him. Maybe he's just a little sharper, a little more focused. If he gets away, then him and Mind Frame. I don't like Dornoch, really. I put him third because the rest of the horses are crap. So I don't really like anybody else. So I figure, but I don't like Dornoch very much. I'm closer to Alexa with the single of Mind Frame than anything else.
I think so. And Timberlake, we're gonna let Alexa go here, but Alexa, we really appreciate your time. We saw you around a little longer than I expected. We love talking horse racing. What are you gonna do? Timberlake, this is a weird spot for Cox. I'd have never thought Timberlake is really a distance horse, and now he's coming off a break into a really tough spot. Just quick thoughts on Timberlake, and then we'll let you go for the night.
I mean, I don't like him in here.
I think he'd be. I think Timberlake would be a nice Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile horse in a few months. Maybe. I mean, he's not really a sprinter. I think he's just overrated. Maybe it's the name. Whatever. I don't know. I've never thought he was that good. I know he won the Champagne last year, but I don't know.
Yeah, won the Champagne, won the Rebel. Had quite a bit of time off. I mean, he has won off the layoff before, but meh.
Yeah, I agree. Perfect way to end Alexa's expert analysis with nah. Alexa, where can people find you? Of course, you see on X there at Alexa _ Zepp, but just tell everyone what you got coming up with in your life, and appreciate your time today.
Yeah. So yes, that's my handle on Twitter or X. I'm much more active on Instagram, which is same thing without the underscore. And I'll be doing a lot of stuff coming up. I do content every week for DRF that you can find on our YouTube channel. I also will be hosting a show with America's Best Racing as the DRF correspondent this weekend for Woodbine. I'll be hosting a live show at Woodbine. Very excited about for the Woodbine Mile. I've never been up to Canada before, so that's a little later this year. But yeah, mostly just on our DRF channels.
Terrific. You could find Alexa in many places, but check out the DRF channels for sure. Last question. Will you be at the BCBC at Del Mar this November?
Oh, I'm sure.
I
don't know yet. It's not booked, but of course.
Actually, I'll see you in Lexington. I'm actually going to be there Fall Stars weekend, opening weekend at Lexington. So we'll be in touch, Alexa. I'd love to
definitely
have a beverage with you and hang out for a little bit at Keeneland.
Absolutely.
All right. Alexa Zepp from DRF. Really appreciate you. We'd love to have you back on if you can make it some time. Have a great night and good luck at Monmouth this Saturday, Alexa.
Thanks guys.
See you, Alexa. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, Alexa Zepp. She's awesome, guys. Really appreciate it. Did a great job with her analysis, and check her out on DRF and a lot of other avenues. Guys, let's get to our best bets, Paul's rant, and then we're out of here. Best bets. Let's go to Pete first. Pete's best bet is race 5, a daily double 1-5 to the 6 in race 6, and then a daily double in race 9 to 10, 1-5 to 3. I believe that's Highland Falls is the end of that double, and the end of the first double is to Idiomatic, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Not exactly the most creative of things, but they're relatively chalky, but I feel like they're small enough to where you can sort of bang those two doubles. The first one is Delahaye and Mom and June over Idiomatic, and then the one in the ninth was the ninth was the, who am I forgetting? Oh, Eamon and Arzak in that one. So yeah, nothing too exciting. I agree with Paul though. Like I sort of like Highland Falls, but the 6-5 wasn't so appealing once you see it.
Yeah, I hear you. Paul's best bets, race 9, daily double, straight daily double, 5-3. Is that Arzak to Highland Falls? Yep. And then race 11, an exacta, Farbridge on top of 3, 7, 9, 10. I'm drawing a blank on who the 3 is. 7 is Data Man. 9 is
the 3 is Get Smoking, who we didn't talk about, but I think has a shot at a price. Yeah.
So
the 7 is Your Horse.
Yeah.
Tawny Port is the 9. Tawny Port is always around. And Pete's Webslinger.
Yep, I like it. And by the way, Tawny Port made a very early premature move in the Monmouth race, and probably was as good as anyone in there. He just doesn't get the job done too much. But I do like the horse in general. My best bets, guys, race 6, a ice cold punch, 6-3. 3 is what's the name? Catherine.
Is it just Catherine?
Just Catherine.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mentioned on the show that a little bit of a price maybe to go underneath Idiomatic instead of Misty Vale, whether Mr. Vale's right or not. And then I love Dataman in race 11. I really like this horse. I'm going to use him in reverse tri-key. I got a weird feeling he's going to be a wise guy like 6-1. I don't think I'm getting 10-1 at all on that horse, but I really do like Dataman, guys, in the United Nations to at least be in the money.
That's a good tri-key though race, because I think you can get a bomb and all. You don't even need a bomb really. I think if you got like an 8-1, a 6, and a 5, you can get a nice payout just because that money's going to be so spread out in that race that I feel like you can get anything in that one.
Agreed. Let's end the show because, guys, in just a minute or two on Equine Edge's YouTube channel, they have their weekend preview starting at 9:15 Eastern. We told them we'd be off the air by then. Paul Halloran, it is time for your rant of the week. Paul, what do you got tonight?
Well, Howard, I got to look backwards, and I hate looking backwards when we should be looking forwards. But and I know I'm going to drive Pete crazy when I talk about the paceless Diana last week, Pete. I know you love that topic. But look, I like Dylan Davis stipulated, and I'm too tough on jockeys stipulated. But I have no idea in that race that was very slow on paper with Evie Jets, whose only chance to win is on the lead, how Dylan rode so non-aggressively. And look, you might say, well, you're picking one race. What's the big deal? It's more a symptom of what unfortunately, we see in these turf routes in New York too often. And in this case, I believe if this race were, I think it's Hong Kong, if not Europe, I believe Dylan would have been called into the stewards after the race to explain his strategy. I'm very serious. They do that. If you ride a horse now he doesn't go to lead every race, okay, but the races where he's successful, he does. And in this particular race, okay, where you're looking at Nisi Marie, dead closer, Chili Flag, Stone Cold Closer, Fluffy Socks, closer, Gina Romantica, closer, Mission of Joy, closer, Capice, closer, Moira, closer. So I just look at I lose plenty, okay, and so I'm immune to it. I just don't like it when a jockey, and again, Dylan is a very good jockey and a great guy. He just happened to be riding the horse this day. I just don't like it when a jockey rides a horse in a manner in which, at least I think, and he might know something different, but I cannot see any scenario where he could have won that race the way it was ridden. And thus, White Beam, who's a very good horse, might have won anyway. If White Beam goes by Evie Jets in the stretch, okay, I'm good. So I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting to that, Pete, but that's all I got.
Well, we don't. The only look, you know how I feel about Paul, because we talked about it 5 seconds after the race. I texted you, so you know how I feel. But it might have been new instructions. I mean, unless you're there. I mean, I don't have intel on that. I have to believe he was written to instructions. Why those instructions were given, if that was the case, I have no effing clue. But that would be my guess. I mean, we'll never find out unless, right? And
I think Mick, the Cantamachis are great too. Again, and I actually didn't play the horse on top, so this is no big, gambling loss story. I played him underneath anyway, and maybe she had a better chance to run underneath the way he was going, the way she was going. But I just. I think those races materialize like that a lot of times because of jockey strategy, whether it's instructions or not, and it just doesn't have to be.
Well, listen, we appreciate your rant, Paul, and we all hear you on pace situations, especially in New York turf races. Guys, that's about it. We're gonna wrap it up again next week. A little different because I'm going to be in Saratoga, as well as Paul. Our younger guys are going to be doing a lot of the work for us in Ben and Boozin. That's not going to lower the quality at all. In fact, it might raise the quality of our shows and handicapping. So we will be obviously involved. And again, last things from Saratoga, guys, next week, although I'll be on Monday night to talk about this from Horsing Around. Meet and greet Saturday, a week from Saturday at Saratoga Jim Dandy Day. First race, the second race in the Jim Dandy Bar. Check that out. And also, Pete and Paul, we're going to have a live show from the gazebo. Paul and Pete, you know what I'm talking about. From the gazebo on the first turn for about an hour on Saturday. We're definitely going to make that happen. Really looking forward to doing that a week from Saturday for Jim Dandy Day. For my co-hosts, Paul Halloran, Pete Visco, this has been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 362 of Picks and Ponies. We wish everyone plenty of success at Saratoga. In fact, why don't you just crush your bets at Monmouth and Saratoga too, but at Monmouth this Saturday. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.